An estimated $108 billion has been made available under the bipartisan infrastructure law for things like roads, bridges, airports, and more. ICT's national correspondent Jocelyn Estes sat down with Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg during his first trip to Alaska. He was joined alongside the Transportation Department's Assistant Secretary for Tribal Affairs, Orlando Teller. Jocelyn started with asking the secretary about his trip to Kotzebue.
It was great. It was really informative, memorable movement. And I think a great way to begin our journey in Alaska because it demonstrated the things that make life unique here. The physical proportions of Alaska, the fact that it took 2 hours of flying just to get there from Anchorage, the unique conditions and elements that affect everyday life, the ways of life that people have been practicing here for centuries or for millennia. And the fact that a one-size-fits-all federal policy doesn't compute in a place like Alaska.
I asked Secretary Buttigieg if he had a short message for Indigenous communities.
Well, it's really that we are here to support your needs, and we recognize as part of the government-to-government relationship the responsibility and the opportunity that we have, especially in this moment with historic infrastructure funding, meeting Indian country at many places where there is historic infrastructure need. We are here not just to offer help, but to listen and try to best understand how to be good partners.
Buttigieg has been working with Republican and Democratic parties. I asked him about working with Alaska Senator Dan Sullivan.
Well, one great thing about a lot of infrastructure issues and a lot of tribal issues is they're not necessarily predictable on partisan lines. Senator Sullivan and I won't agree on everything, but we certainly both care about this state and about making sure that we have solutions that work. And I would note that, he was one of a number of Republicans who crossed over party lines to work with Democrats and work with President Biden to get this infrastructure bill done. As a matter of fact, he remarked to me, he thinks that Alaska may have been the only all-Republican delegation with him, Senator Murkowski, and at the time Don Young, who all voted for the infrastructure law. We should double check that, but I'm pretty sure that must be true. And we're saying, that must be right. I think largely because you don't have to be a Democrat or a Republican to see what infrastructure funding means for a place like Alaska and for the more than 200 tribes that have a presence here.
Mary Peltola is Alaska's newest member of Congress.
Yeah, and I've been in touch with Mary Peltola. She wasn't able to join today, but she's somebody who has such deep expertise and passion for the things that make ways of life possible here. In particular, I admire her deep expertise on fish. This week that we're announcing the culvert program, and something that's one of many truly new initiatives that's contained in the infrastructure package. And I think her expertise is going to be a real asset in Congress. In terms of what we're working with Congress on right now, one of the biggest things is the FAA reauthorization bill. And another thing that's been very valuable, whether I was meeting with the large cargo carriers at Ted Stevens Airport yesterday morning, or whether it was talking with the regional carriers up in Kotzebue later on in the afternoon, is just how distinctive the role of aviation is for communities in Alaska, so many of which aren't even connected at all by road. So that FAA reauthorization is in front of Congress right now. We're hopeful of getting it passed in a matter of weeks. And if we can get that done, that will chart the course to the next 5 years of U.S. aviation policy. So that's one example of an area where we are hoping for more continued work across both chambers and both parties, where the Alaska delegation, I think, could play a very important role.
The secretary says there's lots to learn about Alaska.
Being here, you can't miss the physical size, the strategic importance, and the sheer uniqueness of Alaska. And so I'm really glad to have this experience. And I don't travel alone. I've been here with a lot of senior colleagues. And it's really important also to have our Assistant Secretary, Orlando Teller, and our tribal team here who can follow up on some of these distinctive and unique needs. Even just making sure we do a good job of charting the difference between land-based tribes and tribes in the lower 48 and how they're structured, and the role of native corporations and the structure for Alaskan tribes and their regional groupings here in Alaska. Very important to make sure that we take all of that back to us so that we can have the right kinds of approaches that are, on one hand, include everybody as part of the same big picture story, but also don't treat everybody the same when every one of the 574 tribes has unique needs, and you certainly see that on display here in Alaska. So it's been a great visit, and I'm looking forward to what we're going to see tomorrow in the Southeast as well.
Reporting from Anchorage, Alaska, Jocelyn Estes, ICT News.